Okay, so if you're pregnant, I'm guessing you've been bombarded with advice, especially about what not to eat. Today, we're going to tackle two of the big ones, papaya and pineapple. Is there any truth to the warnings? Let's find out what's fact and what's just fear.
I mean, seriously, can eating papaya or pineapple really harm your pregnancy? You've probably heard it from a well-meaning aunt or seen it pop up in a pregnancy group online. The big question is there anything to it? Or is this just another one of those myths that causes a ton of unnecessary stress?
And this is so common, right? You hear this and think, well, I'll just avoid them, just in case. That little voice of doubt is super powerful, and it leads so many of us to cut perfectly healthy, delicious foods out of our diets all because of fear.
So, let's play detective for a minute. Where did this advice even start? It's a pretty common warning, so it must have come from somewhere. We're going to investigate where this all began.
And you know what? The concern isn't completely random. That's why this myth has stuck around for so long. It's actually rooted in a tiny little piece of science, a kernel of truth that got blown way, way out of proportion. All right, so let's get into the myth's origin story. We're on the hunt for that kernel of truth. It all boils down to certain compounds found in these fruits. But, and this is a huge but, only under very specific conditions. You're about to see why context is literally everything here.
Okay, here is the absolute key to the whole papaya thing. The worry isn't about ripe, juicy papaya. No, it's all about unripe papaya. Why? Because unripe papaya has a high concentration of something called latex. But here's the magic trick. Once that papaya ripens, the latex content becomes negligible. It's pretty much gone. And the fruit is just nutritious and delicious.
So what's the deal with this latex? Well, it's a substance found in the unripe fruit. And look, in extremely high amounts, we're talking amounts you could never, ever get from just eating it, it contains stuff that can stimulate uterine contractions. And that one little detail, that's the tiny seed that this whole giant myth grew from. And pineapple has a similar story. The supposed culprit here is an enzyme called bromelain. Now, in a lab, when scientists use a super concentrated form of it, yeah, it's been shown to soften the cervix. But notice the key words, concentrated and lab studies. This has nothing to do with you enjoying a slice of pineapple at home.
And boom, that's how it happens. These little scientific facts get yanked completely out of their context, get oversimplified, and suddenly the whole world is getting this blanket warning to just avoid these fruits entirely.
All right, so that's the backstory. That's where the fear comes from. But now let's talk about what the science actually says. Let's separate the theory you hear about in a lab from what happens in your real-world diet.
And you know what? The answer is so clear on this. There is absolutely no clinical evidence. Zero. Zilch. Not a single study on actual pregnant people that shows eating a normal amount of ripe papaya or pineapple causes any harm. None.
In fact, it's the total opposite. Instead of being a risk, ripe papaya is a nutritional superhero. We're talking rich in vitamin A, an excellent source of vitamin C, and it's got that essential folate, all things that are amazing for a healthy pregnancy.
And that pineapple situation with the bromelain, to get enough of that enzyme to even theoretically have an effect, you would have to eat an extremely large amount. I'm talking something like 7 to 10 whole pineapples in one go. I mean, who's doing that? It's just not going to happen.
Okay, so let's take all that fear and just set it aside. It's time to shift our focus to the facts and talk about a real guide to pregnancy nutrition.
So what should you actually be mindful of? It's pretty straightforward. Step 1, yeah, probably best to minimize unripe or semi-ripe papaya because of that latex we talked about. Step 2, it's a good idea to avoid any super concentrated fruit supplements or extracts in general. And step 3, the best thing you can do is just focus on whole, fresh fruits as part of a balanced diet. Simple as that.
Really, the key is not to get hung up on one or two scary foods. The real goal is a balanced diet that's rich in a whole variety of fruits and veggies. That's what's going to give you and your baby all the good stuff you need.
So if there's one thing to remember, it's this. Trust the science, not the fear. Go ahead and enjoy that delicious, ripe papaya and pineapple. They're a safe, healthy, and wonderful part of a balanced pregnancy diet.
You know, breaking down this one myth really gets you thinking, doesn't it? What other bits of common knowledge out there really deserve a closer look? Makes you wonder what else we've been told that might not be the whole story.